setting to get
Right.
the right speed, and then it's like, okay, cool. Liz loves them.
Wait, but the new son?
I mean, are we streaming? I was waiting till we were streaming, but
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we are.
okay.
Okay.
Cool. Great intro, everybody.
Welcome back.
So where we left off is he just saw Dorcas.
Yeah.
I guess we didn't really talk about her too much, but
You got
we
a
talked about
flashlight.
her.
It made me sad. That part makes me sad.
Yeah, somebody said they were sad that he didn't talk to her, and the rest of us were like, she don't need him.
It was me. I was sad.
I mean, it's sad for Severian. I think it's probably good for Dorcas, but it's one of those things where it's like Severian's just totally like kind of having to ice out this thing that happened. Say goodbye to a, in silence to a turned back.
Oh, he's saying if she had been there long, he would have, but he determined that she had just gotten there, and so he didn't.
Yeah, I guess she's not.
But which, he's saying like he was doing it out of consideration for her, which inherently means that he was like freaked out and just couldn't do it because he weenied.
Totally, yeah. And plus, he doesn't want to get back.
He has no ability to empathize with anyone. The only version of empathy he has is like he's like using empathy as an excuse to not do something that he doesn't want to do.
Yeah, I feel like he goes here out of obligation and curiosity, but I don't think he's interested in talking to Dorcas. I don't think he really feels for her still. I mean, or he feels for her, but I don't think he loves her. He doesn't want to be her a lot.
It's still, but that's only in the litany of every woman he's ever like been acquainted with that he has to rattle off every time he encounters any woman.
Yeah.
Does he know at this point that she's his grandmother?
He's probably not.
Not at this point.
This episode done.
Yeah, no, he has to, because when he goes back to the inn.
I think he realizes it but doesn't like admitting it to himself, and goes through like varying degrees of admitting it to himself. Like sometimes he's like, no, it's true. And sometimes he's like, no.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Ryan, you were saying, oh, sorry.
Oh, I think, yeah, I mean, I guess I was going to say what you were going to say, which is what Ryan said.
Yeah.
How when he sees he goes back to see Owen, and he must know if he's going to do that.
Right.
Like, where else would he have figured it out in between?
Yeah.
Unless it's just one of the, like, things he thinks about, and just for some reason didn't tell us, for one.
All right, so then he gets back on the boat, the Samru.
And he's kind of surprised that the boat is there, and the people on the boat are surprised that he's there.
Yeah. And so the people on the boat are like really afraid for him because he's going back onto the shore, which apparently is full of marauders. But he didn't encounter anything. So I guess the implication there is that they're all stupid. They don't know what they're talking about.
Well, it's like legend or whatever,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Severian like looks down on them, like for thinking that. Like I feel like the whole time he was like,
he's king of the world now.
Yeah. He's confident.
Well, that's because he thinks that if something doesn't happen to him, it's impossible. Like, or like I feel like his own experience is so bizarre and singular, but that if somebody else has some experience of something or some knowledge of something and he doesn't, he's just kind of like
that's like 90% of the people on Twitter who are like, let me tell you about how everyone is based on an interaction I just had with this person.
Right.
or like someone else is saying something that's never happened to me, I'm pretty sure that you have a weird ulterior motive for saying that it happened to you.
Yeah.
Severian was ahead of his time, or behind his time.
Severian exists outside of time.
Now he does.
But existing outside of time means that you always do it.
So
sorry, Andy. I'm sorry.
One of us might be existing out of time right now.
Totally, definitely.
I hope so. I hope we all are.
Maybe that's why we're all in this group, is because it's like a therapy for people that don't exist in time.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know what, like AA, but NA, non-linear anonymous.
TA.
Time anonymous.
Yeah, time anonymous.
All right.
Glad we worked that out.
So in chapter 33, there's just this funny detail where they clean the boat with this big mat called a bear, and the cooks are just laying on it, and the sailors having to drag them across the deck to clean it, which is like, it's just goofy. I mean,
the gross bodies.
The gross bodies of our two cooks, which is like so strange.
It's just their daily duty.
Really funny, where he's just like obsessively describing the ship, the boat.
It's interesting that he like goes to see Dorcas, has this whole like, to me, what reads to me is like a very, very sad, and it's this like almost out of body experience as he's walking away from Dorcas, and then all of a sudden he's like, yes, I'm back on the ship, and he just like gives this as long a description of the ship, like you can literally look at it like mirrored on the pages here of seeing Dorcas. Like the whole next page is him just like talking about these details of the shit. Like whatever.
Well, because he doesn't want to think about the other shit.
I feel like that's true. Although I feel like Gene Wolfe is the writer.
Stare at every little tiny little particle.
Right.
It's
kind of like a palette cleanser. Sorry, Connor.
It's like Melville. It's Moby Dick.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go into every little detail of nautical shit for chapters and chapters now.
Mm-hmm. Instead of dealing with
quarantine.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I don't know, that this is like sort of a. I'm curious how much Wolfe like really intended this idea of like Severian is sort of escapes whatever emotionality he has, or like the more like feelings part of anything that he's going through. He just escapes by diving into the detail of something else.
Yeah.
Which is like in some ways could be seen as a criticism of. I mean, we've all talked about how like kind of detached emotionally this book is. I wonder if at this point now, like in the last, last quarter of the last book, he will be making a point of saying like, yeah, like it's emotionally detached because that's how this character operates.
Well, he's also got it also like hasn't been very long since he's like, he now has assumed like all of these other personalities into his mind, like pretty recently.
Right. Yeah. I guess maybe he's starting to
like within the last day or whatever.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Well, 20 days, right? He's been on the ship for 20 days.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's 20 days from boarding the Samru till he gets to the Dorcas encounter.
Oh yeah, okay.
Well, and it's also interesting because I mean the idea of the narration is that it's from years later. So, and if Severian
perfect memory.
What's that?
He has perfect memory.
Right. If he has perfect memory, then wouldn't he have a perfect memory of and perspective on whatever he was feeling at the time? And so he's kind of willfully avoiding it, even like whatever 25 years later.
I think so. I mean, it's just notable how much time in the narrative is spent on each of those things, on him seeing Dorcas and of him describing the morning routine of the ship.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like
I feel like it's intentional though. Like I think Wolf, the author, might have just been trying to like do a reset here. You know, like here's this kind of heavy, dark scene, and I feel like he's trying to like the writer of Wolf, I feel like is just trying to do a palate cleanser here as a transition.
let's
That's
get
what I feel like.
let's get the show on the road. We're in the home stretch now.
Yeah, but which is telling about Wolf as an author. I feel like, but other authors might have dwelled more there. I don't know.
I feel like some authors might have. I mean, I feel like this book needs the final chapters that we're just getting to, but I think some authors may have just ended it with that, like
Yeah,
Dorcas, and then that kind of, I guess that would be a more like modernist kind of approach to dealing with it. Like kind of
He walks away from Dorcas, gets on the ship, and he'll be Autarch after the book is closed.
Yeah, something like that. But I mean, this is clearly not. I mean, there's modernism here, but like she's pushing a lot of boundaries. But it's also a fantasy novel, so you're gonna get the wrap up.
the structure is really Victorian, or like a John Irving novel, if anyone's ever read any of those. Like he starts to like put the layers of the onion back on at the end, like it revisits it goes back.
You get the same rowing poem that you got in the beginning of everything here.
Right.
Yeah. Framing technique that's going on.
Yeah.
Which we know he loves.
All right.
And then we just get straight into the zone where he's back in the Citadel. He just like dumps you.
Yeah. And he has to demonstrate his skills sort of like the same way he had to do when he was leaving the city.
I held him in the way called the kitten and ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that in the lexicon? I didn't look.
The kitten and ball.
Oh, hey, we've got a chatter, and they request that someone read the rowing poem.
Oh, okay.
Connor?
Yeah, I'll read it.
Yeah, that's
Connor.
That's Connor's duty.
Hold on, I've lost my place. All right.
374.
Row, brothers, row. The current is against us. Row, brothers, row. Yet God is for us. Row, brothers, row. The wind is against us. Row, brothers, row. Yet God is for us.
Very good.
And it would go on from there.
Who's in the chat making these requests of us?
Politeness and politics.
Nice.
Politeness and politics. Wow.
That's a libertarian right there.
And a Catholic.
They all are, apparently. Yeah, I
so
am
then
curious
he
about
so then
what that hold would look like.
It's not in the lexicon.
I wonder if it's a real thing.
It's a little joke. Because he's not telling us, and also the image of a kitten and ball is not clear that there's testicles involved, but the word ball's there, so you're thinking about testicles. It's not really fair.
A little bit.
But you're not sure. You're not sure.
Well, because one of the accusations that the officer makes is that Severian had, quote, assaulted and insulted his person.
Yeah.
That's some Three Musketeers shit.
Maimed 2 of his men and so on.
The officer, the old man who comes in and like questions him afterwards, like reminds me of the guy who he met when he first left the Citadel. You know.
The Castellan.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Castellan. They seem so similar because they both have these like hyper observant kind of personalities.
And they're not like, and they both have like underlings who overzealous underlings.
Right. Yeah. Those experiences seem to mirror each other. In fact, I'm surprised that WOLFE didn't just have it be the same guy, but I guess that guy worked outside of the Citadel, and now he's going into the Citadel.
Right, and he also, he's just got like he notices like, oh, this wound in your thigh came from this. Like I know who you are with your accent. Like he just reads him immediately right there, which interesting.
Well, they both share that professional skill.
Right.
Yeah.
Sanic the Shazbot has said that the kitten and ball is as real as 2 apricots. What is that a reference to? Fruit?
Wait, so we have
that's another thing that Severian does earlier in the book, right?
So then we have multiple chatters then, huh?
Are all the tortures are just like kind of mysterious ball grabbing techniques?
I imagine that's a pretty big part of it.
Well, that's why Agia is his enemy.
It can't be all, Ryan.
Well, if we've got 2 examples in WOLFE and they both involve testicles, I feel like that is we're able to extrapolate. He's given us all the information. All the answers are in the book.
All the answers are in the book.
The whole Torturers Guild is just entirely like a ball crushing club.
No, because they torture women too.
They have to use a really old device for that, like a weird.
They torture women's minds.
Yeah.
They torture men's balls.
No, well, they flayed that woman's leg.
Right.
Well, that's kind of a mind torture in a way too. I think.
Well, all physical torture is mind torture, Ryan.
How about everyone?
Because
why do I
within the mind?
What?
The physical world is contained within the mind. It was just a little strange, and everybody could have screamed over it.
I like it. I want to agree with it.
I don't know.
All right.
But then he's talking to his old teacher. Which one is it? Gurlos?
Palamon?
I think it's
Palamon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't see. Right? He's like.
Yeah. He has like a contraption with like different lenses on it.
Oh yeah, that seems pretty cool.
Yeah, that was also mentioned earlier in the earliest chapters.
Yeah, and he like slowly, with Severian comes to learn who he is, and
yeah. Do you think that it's? I mean, I think Severian kind of attributes his like unrecognizability to being like in different clothes, being really thin with a hurt leg, and
scarred face.
Yeah, scar on his face.
He's the Autarch now.
But it seems like the bigger part of it is that he's now got all these other personalities inside of him. It seems like so many people don't like that when you have someone else inside of you that presents itself in such a way that some people use.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like people see him as Thekla when he's Thekla, like,
Yeah. So
all of that shit, the Miles Jonas stuff, when you look at him out of this corner of your eye, they look like another person, and then you got a guy who can't really see looking at a guy who has like countless personalities. It makes sense.
Yeah.
This is kind of a tangent, but the lenses make me think a thing that I often think sometimes reading this book, which is how much did this book influence the Final Fantasy video games? I think it did. Like, isn't there famous Japanese covers of this book, like, online?
Yeah, there are manga style covers, although I don't know what like.
Yeah. What are those from though?
Yeah, would they be
Because
from the 80s? I
like
wonder how long it took for this to get translated over there.
one of the most famous Final Fantasy images is like a dude with a giant sword. And also that same game, Final Fantasy VII, there's a character named Sephiroth, and there's kind of like vague Kabbalistic kind of gestures in the game. And
Yeah.
and then there's also the famous anime Berserk about a dude with a humongous sword, and that has like a weird sort of mix of like medieval fantasy, but it's also post-apocalyptic, far in the future kind of thing. I really think that this book has
I think those anime things. I think those are also classic anime things. And I think
I mean, those have definitely been around for a long time.
Evangelion, I think, was before, not, I don't think it's before New Sun, but it's before, what was the other anime that you mentioned? Or no, Final Fantasy VII, right? So they could have, like, gotten the same shit from, like, Evangelion or something. You know?
I definitely feel like anime is influenced by, what do you call it? Like, new wave sci-fi, like Moorcock and WOLFE. I feel like have a big influence on a lot of anime, like Vampire Hunter D. Yeah, Ryan, you're talking about those worlds where it's like fantasy and sci-fi, and you do see that in anime a lot. And I get like whiffs of WOLFE when I watch something like that.
Whiffs of WOLFE.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think I don't know. I was trying to figure out when the Japanese translations might have come out, but I couldn't really find a date.
Yeah, those covers are cool.
Yeah, I mean, those covers are really cool, and there have been a couple of different editions.
Yeah, there have been.
But I think the older ones. I mean, they look kind of 90s to me.
Yeah, maybe 90s or aughts.
Yeah, like 90, like sort of like mid to late 90s, like clamp style manga. So it might have not been until later, and just some of this stuff kind of came through on its own. I remember when I was in middle school, I read a book called like Black Sun Rising or something that was like also kind of in this vein, like a far future, but still kind of like medieval seeming culture where there's like, weapons that are powered by magic, and like it's, I don't know, it had a similar vibe. Although I remembered hating it, like I did not enjoy it at all.
Has anyone watched the Castlevania series on Netflix?
No, but I've heard it's great.
It's awesome. I just watched it yesterday.
Warren Ellis writes it.
Wolf-esque, and season 3 of it was, the first 2 seasons were like whatever. Season 3 was like they really upped their game. Really good.
Season 3, would that be appropriate?
Sorry?
Could I just skip to season 3? Would I miss it?
I think you could, honestly. Yeah, you might want to, if you have the time, check out the first 2, but I think you could skip to season 3 and kind of pick it up. Yeah,
I started it up, and then I didn't like the animation. So
that's
a little problem.
You kind of feel like you're watching Serious Archer.
Right. Yeah, it's that more like Flash style animation. So I wasn't into that, so I kind of bailed on it. But the writer Warren Ellis, I really like.
The storytelling is solid.
He's a sharp storyteller. So
I didn't realize Warren Ellis wrote that.
Yeah. I think he's written all 3 seasons. I think they're maybe going to get one more.
Is he super rich from Iron Man, you think?
I think he does okay. He does. I mean, I read he sends out like an email newsletter that I read, and it seems like he's doing a lot of writing for TV now, and he does at least like in years past. He's had some health problems, but in years past he did a lot of like talks and stuff. Like he would go to different conferences, but he usually do like sort of futurism stuff. He would just go and talk and stuff like that. And he's got a couple of novels out. I don't know. He does cool shit.
That's cool.
You guys want to talk about the book again?
Yeah.
Yes.
This book, which Warren Ellis has probably read and enjoys. I'll say.
I think that's the takeaway here. I think this is pretty influential shit here.
Yeah. I feel like it's probably more widely read by Japanese nerds than we might assume.
I think it's read by heads and nerds, and that's why we feel its influence felt throughout so many things.
Yeah, remember my anecdote about the truck driver yelling at me because I was reading this book?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And
Was he Japanese?
No, but he just was from an alien culture.
I knew Jen was going to laugh about that.
Yeah.
Trucker.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of like a trucker.
We're talking.
Yeah, there's a cool. I don't know if we want. Are we ready to skip to the end of this chapter? Like he talks to Palamon, and then I like how at the end he's like, maybe all of my adventures are just kind of made up. You don't. Who knows?
Wait, where does he say that?
The very 378. I mean, that's how I interpret this. He's like, perhaps I've contrived for someone the Book of Gold. Indeed, it may be that all my wanderings have been no more than a contrivance for librarians to recruit their numbers.
That's interesting.
That's supposed to be about us.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is like some shit for some nerds.
Nerds forever.
Yeah, maybe this is just a story that a bunch of nerds wrote to try to get more nerds involved. Yeah,
Now you're
I
gonna
mean,
read. You're gonna read, and no, you're just gonna look for more books.
A nerd invisible college.
Never find a good one. What?
The Nerd Invisible College.
The Nerd Invisible College?
Yeah,
What's that?
that's what he's talking about.
Oh,
I want to just point out that Palamon is the son of the White Goddess in mythology.
Oh. You want to expand on that at all?
Oh, just to be a little twisty, like clearly Gene Wolfe likes Robert Graves.
Right. He was in the Sand Garden.
Right.
In the first.
Just because of the argument that I had with Aramini.
who is the White Goddess? I know that I haven't read the book.
It's a archetype of goddesses. So like most of them are Robert Graves argues most of them are the White Goddess, and in fact there's a whole bunch of gods that come from the White Goddess too. But Ino is Palamon's mother, and the story is that Ino takes her son and jumps off a cliff with him, and they become gods. She becomes Leucothea, which just literally means white goddess, and the son becomes a sea god called Palamon.
Cool. Palamon is a sea god.
A sea god.
That's interesting.
Yeah. The old man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in some ways, isn't that what happens to Severian as well? I mean, if his mother kind of like jumps off the cliff that is the torturer's guild, and then she becomes this kind of icon to them, and then Severian, I don't know, I don't know if you can make an argument that he's become a sea god, but
He does. Once we read Urth, we can totally make that argument.
right, gotta, yeah. I mean, if the sea and space are intertwined for him,
Well,
then that makes.
Urth ends with, I'm going to spoil Urth, everybody who hasn't read it, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Urth ends with the flooding of the earth, and like Severian has this whole underwater episode. Like,
Right.
he is totally a sea god.
And the Undyne saved him when he was drowning, pushed him back up.
Mm-hmm. I also, in that report that I had to write, looking into the origins of the name of Yahweh, I apologize to any true believers here, but the name Yahweh comes from this evolution riffing off of this Canaanite god Yam, who is a seven-headed sea serpent.
Tight.
Which then comes from Akkadian Ea, which goes back to Sumerian Enki, which is the very first male god ever. And Severian's in that line too.
Enki.
Cool.
What, can we? Where is this report? What's up with this report?
Oh, I wrote it for money.
As a report.
Yeah, I wrote her. I'm doing research for this guy who's writing a fantasy novel.
Ah.
I'll send you the report if you want. There's no reason I can't.
Yeah, I'd like to look at it.
Okay.
Thanks for a review.
And I don't try to write pretty. It's really ugly writing.
It's just like straight up facts.
Yeah, well, it's yeah. You'll see. I'll send it to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Tim gets the poems, Jen gets the report.
Awesome.
Sounds apt.
What's next?
Does anyone have anything they want to say about this conversation he has with Philemon?
The only thing that seems relevant is the discussion of what Severian's going to do with the guild. Like, Severian intends to reform it, but they don't really talk too much about what that means. And Severian doesn't go too much into detail about what he envisions. Although Severian does seem to indicate that he wishes like more books to be written in the world. And he seems to want to have a more just, more painless society. Like he gives some clues to that, but
and Philemon's kind of like, you don't know what you want,
right? Yeah.
So the key to the universe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're still hanging out in the next chapter in 34.
Yeah. It's kind of looking over his stuff.
Oh, they talk about the Ashaeans. I thought that was pretty interesting, where Severian's concerned that if like if they reconnect with space and there's like new technology, won't the Ashaeans be better suited to using it and then take over the world again?
Yeah. And Philemon's like, I don't know, maybe.
These Ashaeans are so sad.
Why do you feel sad about it?
Because, like, from identify most strongly with everyone, but then from any outside view, they're horrific. Like, they're starving. They are like, trying to encroach south constantly on this other people and just throwing bodies at it, being destroyed and replaced. Like, you can see, I feel like with these chains, you can kind of see both sides really easily. And then, but you wouldn't choose to be one, no matter what. At least I would never choose to be one.
Yeah.
And they're clearly us, the people that sold their shadows and, are playing with technology for power, but not getting really all that far with it.
They get to belong.
I think there's this, there's this kind of like libertarian propaganda element to how they're characterized. I can't help but read it as a little bit of a heavy-handed, like Gene Wolfe being like, "This is where we're headed, you guys. We got to be careful. You don't want to be like China, basically." I can't help but see some of this like an indictment of kind of like later communist society of that time period.
Is the Commonwealth better?
Well, you got
Well, it
yourself
worked
a
out
real
for some
Trump
degree.
Biden situation here, don't you?
Except neither of them are communists. We could have had the socialist, and it's not going to happen.
I mean, maybe it's better for it to just peter out than for them to assassinate him in front of us. Which seems like the other option, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
Somebody's gonna kitten and ball a 78-year-old man on live TV, traumatize the whole nation away from socialism forever.
God.
Joy and Craig kind of have a theory that heart attack that he had was an assassination attempt, that they slipped him digitalis.
Oh.
And then he was like back out on the road 2 days later, and they were just like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, like
Well,
the
yeah, they
Castro
can't-
assassination attempts.
You can't kitten and ball him because that would just make everyone more inflamed.
Yeah.
Was it Czechoslovakia? Was it in Czechoslovakia where they hung their last king on live TV, or was it Yugoslavia or Czechoslovakia? Does anyone know?
No.
Oh, anyway, yeah, there was a socialist revolution, I guess, sometime in the middle of the 20th century, and they televised his execution.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I'll follow up on that. I don't remember the details.
Fucking stone cold.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was hard, man.
Watching people die sucks.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
Connor, are you talking about like on a video or in real life? Both?
I mean, watching an execution, whether it's in video or real life, I think like watching someone purposely be killed, the times that I've seen it, like for some reason recently, a couple of days ago, I got really obsessed with that dude who shoots himself in the head on the news.
Bud.
Yeah, exactly. That
Hey
guy.
man, nice shot.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just is horrible to see. And people who want to go see an execution, I have a hard time getting my head in that mindset.
Well, it
Yeah,
used
it's
to
the
be,
worst.
it used to be so commonplace, I think,
Yeah.
this idea of public executions being like kind of a social event that everybody goes out to. You watch like a bunch of criminals get hanged or something.
There's a great joke in the show Hunderby where the town little village priest and is getting married to this woman who's washed up in a shipwreck on the shore, and they go into the church and the woman says, "Where is everybody? Where's all the congregation?" And the priest said, "Oh, they prefer to see the hanging."
Yeah,
It seems like
I feel like death was just in a lot of earlier culture. It was something
Exactly.
so commonplace. Like, just life expectancies were shorter. Disease was a lot harder to deal with. People were just dying all the time, and so it was just kind of a thing that it's not like it was impolite to talk about. Not like it was going to be like triggering for somebody to think about. It was just something that was there all the time.
Well, we have images bombarded by images of death constantly. They're just not real. They're just like in television, just like fictionalized. But
and they're so detached. Like anytime you're watching an action movie, like hundreds of people may nominally be dead, but you're not like thinking about that part of it at all.
Right.
It's a lot more abstract.
Yeah, I think that a lot of I don't know, I think like sex and death in like modern culture are these things that we're like, are so private about, and so like unwilling to really engage with in a frank way in public discussion, that they become this like way more traumatic thing for a lot of people. Whereas, which isn't to say that people weren't undergoing a lot of trauma in the past. I'm sure they were, but I don't know. Just like if you're just used to people dying like pretty regularly, or you need to be like sharing one room with your entire family, and like sex and death are just parts of your daily life.
Well, I feel like now there's this cognitive dissonance because we have such an idealized version of these things that when you encounter the imminent version, it's like culture shock. It just doesn't jive with what's in your head.
Certainly not aesthetic.
What?
It's certainly not aesthetic.
Right. So, yeah, I think that's a different kind of trauma than when you're just constantly surrounded by actual death.
Yeah.
And in our like fictional representations of death, they're almost always resolved by an authority. Like there's serial killers on the loose that get caught by cops or detectives, or if they're not caught, they're at least pursued by a competent detective who then at the very end can't get them for some trifling reason. When
or they're like in some way at least like moralized, kind of,
Yeah.
There's kind of like a reason.
It being taken care of.
We put death in its place.
Yes.
Behind closed doors.
Yeah. But it's interesting. We
get rid of death altogether.
We probably do suppress our acknowledgement of death now much more than any other culture.
Yep. People are horrified by it.
Yeah. And we don't even know. I mean, it's really hard to like deal with when you're confronted with it too, and it's weird.
And where's the cart and the horse with our like cult of youth? I wonder. Like, is the cult of youth serve to like help us keep death at bay, or does our like fear of death like push us back into a place where we have to worship youth?
You mean like society's obsession with youth and like?
Yeah, and like, I mean, one place where it's really vividly illustrated to me is in the music industry, in how like a 20-year-old who has a brand new album is like the peak of relevance, and then the older someone gets and the more the more they've done that hasn't been as good as that first thing, the more they're seen to have to have like left this sphere of usefulness for us.
Yeah.
And there's very few Larry Davids in our music culture. Like
there's
someone
like,
who
what,
is
like Tom Waits is like the Larry David of music.
Well, Tom Waits was pretty big as a young man, right?
He's pretty big as a young man, but then he had this like kind of career resurgence in the 90s when he started getting real weird. I mean, he was always pretty weird, but he started like like Rain Dogs era, like.
Well, you're talking about like Larry David coming into fame as an old man.
Yeah, I guess I don't really consider like Saturday's Larry David as being like a cultural phenomenon of any kind.
Well, like nobody thought about Larry David when Seinfeld was popular. Like Larry David wasn't like a cultural figure.
He had like an analog on screen, and he was like tremendously successful because of that show.
Yeah, but we
but he wasn't a cultural he wasn't like a name that people talked about.
Yeah, I agree with Jen.
He didn't come into like stardom
until Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah,
that's
and
true.
I think
Curb
too
is
that
so, like his image is just so integral to it.
Yeah. And Gene Wolfe was kind of like that, right? Like, not that he ever became too famous, but I mean, as writers go, it seems like his got his his big breaks later on in life.
I think so.
I think he was sort of like a respected short story writer, but then this came out and he got to retire from being an engineer.
Or an engineer, magazine editor.
Right. What a guy.
What a guy.
I've been trying to like read through this a little bit to kind of like think about it, and I don't know if anybody has anything to say about these intermediate pages, but the first thing that I find that seems necessary to talk about is 382, where he's talking about the claw and whether the power's in him or in the claw, and then it goes into that whole thing that Ryan was talking about last time about symbols and the peach and the painter and stuff.
Yeah,
I've got one thing before that I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
That maybe
I'm just trying to bring it back in, like
no, totally. There's this moment where he's talking to Palemon, and he's saying like, "Oh, I wasn't going to destroy the guild; I was just going to reform it." And like maybe he said something like, maybe you think I'm different now that I've like moved to this highest place or something. And Master Palemon says, "You have not just moved to the highest place; you have become it. You are the state." And Severian says, "We are not the state as everyone else. You, the Castellan, those officers outside. We are the people." Just like he's saying, like, I'm not the state. I am the people within it, and then like I have to like wrangle this apparatus of the state to serve the people.
What's Bernie Sanders' slogan?
Not me, us.
Yeah,
there you go.
Ooh, Severian.
but then also, I mean, like Trump is also a populist, and Trump's position is also, I am the people. Even
not exactly.
I mean, that's.
I think he's referred to as that. I think he's referred to as that, but he doesn't have. Yeah. It's not like his slogan or anything. Like his branding isn't really that.
Yeah, and populist, I feel like, is a term we got to be suspicious. We got to put our thinking caps on when someone gets referred to as populist.
I think populist is kind of loaded, but I guess I meant it as more of a just like a. I mean, that's what it is.
Oh, yeah. Like it's a term.
But Trump is a fake populist. Like he's not.
Oh, yeah, totally.
He's not a populist. Like he's not that.
He's not.
I think it's important. Like you can't just say Trump is a populist. Like that's not. I'm not gonna like allow that. In this
that's totally fair. I mean, but that is like the messaging that they're trying to get across is this guy is a populist, even though everything he says and does makes it clear that he isn't.
Right.
Is this the
I'll allow that.
Is this the point where he explains, I don't know if it's here or shortly coming up, where he explains that what he's going to do with the torturers is make every torturer be locked in the tower as if they were a client?
Yeah.
Which is, that is so amazing. Imagine if that happened with cops. If like part of your training was you had to go to jail for a year.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see where that would take us.
Yeah.
What, Connor?
Sure, you'd have a lot fewer cops.
For wanting to be a cop.
Yeah. But you did.
Weren't you talking about being a private investigator, Connor? Or was that someone else talking
Connor
about what
was trying to convince Ryan to be a private investigator, is what I recall.
To be a private investigator.
That's what I recall is Connor telling Ryan to do it.
It's the best idea. I don't see why everybody doesn't do it.
Ryan had a really good answer, which I can't remember what it was.
It's probably on video. So.
Yeah. We got
we can go back and find that episode.
Timestamp it for us.
We could find it.
When we make a best of
right now.
I feel like it might have been before one of the episodes. I don't think it might not be on video.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because it was also Ryan. Also, Connor was trying to convince Ryan that he should just write raps again, and Ryan was like, "No." That's what I remember.
Ryan should write.
Cool.
I really have been trying to go back to the book, though. I think it would be cool if we could talk about it more.
Let's go to the part about the claw then. I just thought it was interesting that he had this moment of saying like, "I am the Commonwealth." I think like
Sanic the Shazbot has a comment about the "I am the Commonwealth," saying that it's pretty literal because some of the previous Autarchs were actually common people.
Right.
Well, pretty much all of them.
I think all of them have to be, right?
Yeah.
Severian theoretically common person.
Yamar the Almost Just was a common person, right?
God, what if the president had you couldn't be rich? Certain amount of money that you've made in your life, if you ever made that money, you're disqualified. Just like,
well,
not
you could be rich. We talked about this before. It's like it doesn't matter. You could be rich, but you got to take the water of life, or you have to have the abomination. You have to have all of the Commonwealth inside of your mind.
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually matter if you were rich before, because if you have thousands of poor people inside of you, then it doesn't. It's like. Anyway.
Well, then I was talking about in our country, we'd need Alzabo technology.
Yeah, I'm trying to root for that, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. Corpse eating, 2020.
Which candidate will eat a corpse? That's who I'm voting for.
Hey, you joke about it. We're not far away from that.
I mean, I think some of them probably have.
Just wait till May.
Some of those people.
That's when we start eating corpses?
May?
Yeah,
Okay.
May is corpse
I'm
eating.
calling it.
All right. Okay. All right. Fine.
You seem kind of
Jordan is
enthusiastic.
ready.
Okay, I can wait till then.
I could hold off a little longer.
All right, so we're
Okay.
talking about. You want to say stuff about the peach, Jen?
I don't know what I want to. I don't have anything particular I want to say. I just think we should look at that section 380 in the middle, starting in the middle of 382 and going into 383.
Okay, that I do. I want to get there too. Before that, I mean, he does do that whole like tour through the cells, and he's talking to like the different prisoners, and the prisoners are all tell him their versions of their like story of why they're there, and he thinks most of them are full of shit, and it seems like that at least that first guy was for sure. But I wonder, like, why does he include this part? Or I don't know.
Well, I feel like part of it is just an immediate test of
Judgment.
Yeah, like he's got all these ideas about what he wants to do with the guild or whatever, and like people should have a quick death or whatever. Like people shouldn't be tortured. Like he basically he says that his stance is like people shouldn't be tortured. Like no one should have to do it. And then he just gets to see kind of the workings of, or like a bunch of different people.
It's also for the palindrome structure of the book. He's got to be back in the cells and.
Oh man, this is the part with the lady who admits that she was guilty, and that she was
Yeah.
Making
That's
furniture
what
out
she
of
called her
pictures.
sport, because it was the only activity that really interested her, and it was turning children into furniture.
Yeah.
He's like, "Are you sorry, or will you stop?" She's like, "Nah, that's all. That's the only thing I've got. That's the only thing I'm interested in is turning kids into furniture."
Wild.
I think this also serves to show that Severian's not like a full-on hippie now. It's not like he believes everyone's innocent and there's no criminals and there's like, there's a measured realism to his new thinking.
Ryan, you look angelic right now.
I've been wondering if anyone can see that.
Yeah.
What's happening?
There's a hole in the ceiling where the sun comes through, and it's coming right down on me right now.
Well, you got to get that patched up, man. It's unbearable.
Like a skylight or like a hole?
Yeah, like a skylight. I thought it'd be more fun to call it a hole.
I got a hole in the ceiling.
But it looks amazing on my screen. I hope I look like an Aquaster.
You do look like an
Yeah,
Aquaster.
you kind of do. Yeah, you got Aquaster vibes.
Unreal.
Maybe since you are an Aquaster, you should tell us where the power of the claw comes from.
It comes from within your own heart. I kind of wonder, I wish that I could be around more people that are like militant literal interpretation atheist, because there's like in this part with the peach painting, like WOLFE is an intelligent design guy. He's like, clearly this is all designed, and I would love to see people get more like flipped out and mad about that for my own amusement.
Well, I don't think you're gonna get that here.
No, but they're like among the other WOLFE stands.
Maybe you might be able to poke Tim enough. Maybe you can get Tim.
I could be prodded into that kind of argument.
Tim, are you into intelligent design?
Who?
No.
See, I told you.
It's funny because WOLFE constantly relates it back to the idea that there's an author writing the story you're reading right now. You know, like this world had a plan by a person who hasn't revealed everything about their plan, and some of which they don't. You can't really communicate directly. It's like, you buy this, you're experiencing this right now. Why not push it up a level? How is that so implausible?
I mean, spoken like a true Catholic. That's
Hey,
some like
we're number one. We're number one.
that's some Aquinian shit.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like the modern refutation of that is just like, no, that's not realistic. Surely space is dead and everything happens by chance. Surely.
I don't know much about like dense postmodern theory. Maybe some of you do. Mark, maybe you do. I feel like once you dig down deep into like Derrida or something, the implications are that everything is, all associations are related, and everything is just a continuum of associations, which, I don't know, seems kind of the same sort of underlying philosophy of intelligent design.
I mean, there's something to that. I think that it's interesting. There's some more. I guess it's like kind of postmodernist ideas where they're kind of going back to some early modernist wackadoo shit and reevaluating it, like Spinoza and stuff, and like thinking about like on an ontological level, everything being one substance, in this like broader sense of like everything being the same thing. And that we're just kind of like witnessing different associations and aspects of this same material. I think that, I don't know. I mean, you could maybe call that intelligent design, but I think it's a little more complicated than that.
I think for me, I get tripped up on like the design part of intelligent design, right? Like, is that where we all stand? Yeah. Is that there's like a designer behind it all? Like, but it makes sense that it's like, like there's some primordial matter that everything comes from, and that, we're all part of like one thing that was predestined from the first Big Bang or whatever. Like, that all seems kind of, I don't know, arguable at least. Like, but the idea of like someone like crafting it all seems, I don't like to get like too into like the God part of it.
Well, I think the trouble there is when you try to take a human person that and then put them into that role, whereas it's more about they're just not, that it not being just like weird random chance that everything turned out the way it is. Like, oh, these people exist because, you threw some molecules together. That's what happened.
Yeah. WOLFE definitely agrees with that. I feel like, there's a chapter later on, right, where he's talking to, maybe it's this chapter where he relates, or the next chapter where he relates what the Malrubia sequester was telling him. That's basically that.
I'd like to interject. I feel like quantum immortality has something to do with this.
Go on.
where so like quantum immortality is the idea. So everything that can happen does happen in parallel universes, right? So like there are universes that make no sense and where life doesn't exist, but of course we are going to exist in the one where life does exist and makes sense.
Makes no sense to us, though. That's relative.
Was that?
It makes no sense to us. Like, there is no making sense without the perceiver.
Well, we're just in the part where it doesn't make sense to us, but there's other universes where it does.
Yeah, but you're saying that there's other universes that make no sense. They can't make no sense to someone. I mean, they can't not make no sense without somebody who's not making the sense of it.
Well, I think there's this idea.
Universes that we can't possibly understand or conceive of.
Right.
Yeah, and that definitely.
And they would have to. I think that there's this idea of. Or you can either think of God in the sense of like, I think that sort of like Spinozan like whatever anomalous monism idea where like everything is one thing and that thing is God. But then you have this other sort of more Lovecraftian idea of, and which I think is maybe more of where WOLFE is coming from, where even if everything that exists is one thing or whatever, there could be something outside of that. And so that's where that is the thing that could be God at least exists, is that it's
that's Yesod, right?
Yeah, and that, I mean that's kind of my idea of like thinking about Yesod as this thing that exists outside of existence, and therefore it gives it this kind of different quality. It can observe existence or multiple possible existences, and like sense isn't necessarily a thing. Sense is something for us. It's not something for this thing that exists outside of the universe as we can know it. And for Lovecraft, that's like a terrifying thing, that there are these like terrifying, uncaring monsters that just kind of poke in every now and then and stir shit up. But I think that we're seeing something a little bit different here.
Cool. Yeah, because Lovecraft.
Good story, Mark.
Lovecraft's whole view is informed by like scientific materialism. Like his view comes from what?
He's afraid of scientific materialism.
Right. But you don't get his mindset without the like starting from the point of, space is a cold, lethal place, and anything that would occur there would be totally incomprehensible to us, which is, entirely a post-Enlightenment kind of attitude.
Yeah.
Said the angel.
Angels are all about that post-Enlightenment attitude.
Oh, man. It's like, you guys probably don't know the Tool song, Cut in Two. It's sort of about that.
Will you sing it to us?
Angels on the sidelines. That's the first word, but I don't remember this. He calls. There's like let's talk about the book.
I listened to Tool in high school.
Of course.
Where's that sound coming from?
Oh, I thought
a motorcycle just went by my house, maybe.
Motorcycle.
A series of bikes.
Hey Liz, welcome to our Tool discussion group.
What's your favorite Tool album?
I don't know any Tool songs. I'm here to learn.
Did she say anima?
You've come to the right place.
Yeah, she just said anima, I guess. That's
about right.
The part where he talks about Malrubius is on 384.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted to talk about that.
There's a lot there.
Oh yeah, what is he? It's like the Secrets of Time or something. What did he refer to this as?
It's the secrets of the whole thing of the creation. This is like the most spiritual passage of the book. I feel
Uh,
like
The
this
chapter is
page.
called Universe, I believe.
Yeah, key to the universe.
This is. I mean, this is where he's talking about all the stuff we were talking about for the last 10 minutes. Like seriously, right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he talks about how the other beings. I actually, I'm not the person to summarize this because I don't exactly understand it, but there's like the humans evolved into something and then they escaped to Yasad and they wanted to make humans to keep them company or something. So they made humanity.
I
Right.
love
They made Humans Part 2.
There's kind of
Yeah.
like
Or no.
have you guys seen the movie
Didn't they-
AI?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that movie.
Yeah, this is
I
kind of like
haven't.
the end of AI. Where
Have you
like
guys
they-
watched Battlestar Galactica to the end?
I never
Yeah.
watched it.
All the way to the end, my friend.
do the Cylons create humans at the end of Battlestar Galactica?
I mean, that is the implication. I think
Cool.
that's the implication of the first series as well,
That's cool.
or something like. And also, the Cylons had Jimi Hendrix before we did.
But
Is
Yeah,
another
Jimi
implication.
the reason why this is relevant to the conversation we were having is that it like this is Wolf saying that this is Wolf's this is the at least the spirituality, I don't know of Wolf, but of the book of the new sun, which is that the gods, are an evolved version of us, and they predestined all of this. Like they create they this is intelligent design. They did all this. That's
It's interesting because this kind of echoes back to the beginning of the book when we hear that people had to give away the human part of themselves to achieve greatness, and then they make robots who then are like greater than human, and so great in fact that they can realize that what the humans had given away was the best part of being human, so they try to recapture that thing that their builders had given away, right?
yeah.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
that's like the Syriaca's
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. And so we're getting like the other side of that story right here with these time cycles and the new race like humanities, but as it wished to be.
Interesting.
Yeah. 'Cause in Syriaca's story, it's like robots trying to recapture an older thing. And in this story, it's humans trying to making robots of what they wish they were.
Yeah. I mean, is there any possibility that Wolf is implying that it's just robots at a certain point? Like humans just evolve out of being humans?
Like we're always in a middle state like Jonas.
Or just I mean, like with them being robots doesn't necessarily make them not human.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they don't. There's all the like well, because there's like robots with human parts and humans with robot parts and stuff.
Yeah,
And like the Long Sun, there's a lot of cyborg characters.
Yeah,
A lot of robot character, mechanical characters.
Yeah, Long Sun is basically just straight up cyberpunk.
Is what?
Long Sun is just basically straight up cyberpunk.
In Long Sun, I feel like there's a really cool effect where at a certain point you can't tell the difference between the robots and the humans, and it only makes sense if you think that like bodies have a certain mechanical element or electrical element, so the idea of downloading something into someone's brain is not crazy if you're just from a sufficiently sophisticated technology.
And I mean, it's the exact same thing that Severian is doing pharmacologically.
Yeah.
And behaves the same.
Right.
Yeah, I'm excited for Long Sun. There's a lot of stuff I want to hear other people explain.
I'm excited to read it again.
Oh, yeah. Sanic the Shazbot has pointed out the Green Man is a future human too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's when
From
they
one
evolved.
one certain timeline, yeah.
Human plant hybrid.
Yeah.
Right.
He's from a specific timeline that's different than Severian's.
He's from the same timeline as Swamp Thing.
The Green Man's Alan Moore.
From Louisiana.
Those are good comics.
Those are great comics.
Yeah, Shazbot's doing a great job.
Thanks, Shazbot.
Shazbot.
Oh, wow. There should be a wolf-like reveal of Sanic the Shazbot's identity that makes us all go...
He's the Autarch.
His father Nire.
Oh, yeah, Father Nire's letter.
Sanic is Father Nire!
Oh my god.
I hope so.
This page here, which we were talking about, is a great page to just reread and read again when you're, I don't know, when you're reading Wolf. Like, I'm bookmarking it now.
384, 385.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. This.
It's like really great to read.
Yeah. It's awesome. This and Syriaca's story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because he lays it all out right here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the mystery of how the universes work. It's just told in a very biblical style, you know. Like,
he refers to it as the secret history of time or something like this. The secret history of time, which is the greatest of all secrets.
Yeah, man.
where's that, Jen?
He says that when he's with Malrubius.
That.
On
Oh, yeah.
365, he says, then he recounted to me in brief words the secret history of time, which is the greatest of all secrets, and which I will set down here in a proper place.
Yeah.
And this is that place.
And there's an appeal to the as above, so below. Like, that justifies this whole thing. Like, just as a flower dies and goes to seed and becomes a new flower, so everything follows this pattern.
Yep.
Yeah.
Time. Respiration.
Yeah, and that's huge for Wolf.
Which I think that cyclical time is inherently conservative.
Right. We talked about that last week.
Oh, okay.
About it every week, I feel like.
Yeah, but also the idea of preserving a golden age forever is counter to this philosophy.
Is it? Why do you say that?
You can't have a golden age forever because it can't always be day. It can't always be spring.
But if you keep coming back to it, I guess.
Yeah, I think, if there's an idea of a cycle moving, so, I think that's...
Well, it's a spiral. No, it's not just like a circle. It's a spiral. It's moving.
Right. But it is also like forever only exists outside of time. So the golden age is a location in time that you're constantly revisiting, and that's the way that it acts forever.
Well,
yeah, but also
everything is forever. I mean, not just that. All of the ages, good and bad, are all forever.
Right, exactly. Everything that is forever is always forever. So, like, one thing's forever doesn't cancel out another thing's forever. That's why forever can only exist in a cyclical time, because it's a time period that you periodically revisit through the cycle. And there is no eternity in progressive time because you're only ever moving forward, and the past is destroyed, so you can't revisit it.
I feel like you need to combine both to get.
I think it's somewhere in
between. And then you get a helix.
Yeah. Because
as long as we can all go like this and agree, then I think we're good.
This is the
agree about this.
Of our secret society.
Yeah.
I guess the reason that I bristle at categorizing cyclical time as conservative is that I feel like in popular folk conservatism, there's this idea of like, if we just go back to how it was before, it'll be okay, when, you know, you have to go forward to get back.
But it's not, and it's not back, and it's not the same exact past. It's like a new past.
It's up a level.
I think that the problem is that the two philosophies, they're talking as if they're working on a one-dimensional spectrum here, but they're talking orthogonically to each other. When the conservative says he wants to go back, he wants to go up. And when the progressive says he wants to move forward, he wants to get out. You know, it's just two different dimensions that we're trying to act like are the same dimension.
Yeah. On 385 at the end of the Secrets of Time section of like the forge and the anvil and stuff is so good. It says, well, I mean, I don't know, I don't even have to read it. This whole section is so good, but just the thing being like, the tongs that hold us in the forge, and then the hammer they wield is their ability to draw their servants down the corridors of time. And then the anvil is like pressing needs of current reality.
Ananke.
It's cool. It's a really good metaphor.
Like, the last sentence there is kind of interesting too, where it says, when the new sun appears, it will be a signal that at least the earliest operations of the shaping are complete. It's like this is a whole epic story for us, but for these shapers, for these makers, this is just like the beginning.
Well, right. I mean, the Earth, like everything, it's a birth of a new reality. It's obviously not the end of the story.
Yeah.
The flood.
Oh, and now at the next chapter, the book gets back into very tangible plot stuff. We're talking about a letter and a near A and that cool thing in the glass.
I wish that thing got more screen time. That thing's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude.
Reminds me of that Black Mirror episode where John Hamm is like makes another copy of himself, but it's like this tortured copy of itself, so he's just like a slave to him. This thing just wants to die.
And
break the glass. Break the glass.
Like Metallica 1.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
The being without parents whose life is past immersed in blood.
But then there's
pretty brutal.
Like, is this thing independent and trying to trick Severian when it's like all of these things that you think I'm saying are just things you're projecting?
I feel like it's an independent life form that's conversing with Severian.
Yeah, and it's fucking with him by like suggesting that it's not independent.
My feeling about this section is that telepathy is truly empathy. Like the only way that you're able to have telepathic communication with other people is by giving them empathically inspiring them into your position so that they can have the thought that you're having.
What about regressing to a common place in both? Like both people are sprouting from the same bed. You're just, telepathy is just going back there down to the thing that feeds both people.
Sure, okay. That's a description of empathy in a way.
Yeah. It's less like an image that I feel like. I guess I'm always in these images trying to break away from the atomism of like isolated people and things arising within people
Say again?
spontaneously?
Say it again.
I guess like I'm constantly in images of how people relate or how things work in the imagination, trying to find the atomism in them, like the isolation of people, and find other explanations where in which people are not isolated but just removed from the thing they share. So like like for instance, the imagination, everyone goes to the same imagination. When you imagine something, it's not like a brand new thing coming from you. You're going to the place that we can all go to, where those things are kept. And then with telepathy, I feel like it's like a same idea where communication isn't like just thoughts that are created in your head. They're coming from you're pulling them from a place, and so telepathy is just going back to that place, like together.
I think that's like a Greek. You're being visited by the muse, or the Roman being visited by the genius kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That thought comes from outside of you. The bicameral mind theory. If anybody's hip to that.
Yeah, I think I don't know how to add to the conversation. I'm just following along. It's interesting, Ryan. Yeah, you're talking about like the collective subconscious or whatever you call it, and that we all draw from that anyway. And so like telepathy is like just sort of not really like having this like invisible landline from your head to another person's head, but instead kind of just like drawing from the same well of thought that happens to.
It's not like an email, it's like a chat channel.
It's
like
cool.
IRC or something. Like joining a chat room that always exists and that people are always going in and out, and that like, you know, has a content, a certain specific topic or something.
Yeah, and then Connor, you were saying that that's like that there was it a Greek idea you were saying that there's like the muse would communicate with you, or the gods, you know, and that's what your thoughts were. That's what you thought thoughts were. And that's what the bicameral mind idea is that like it's all coming, all the thoughts in your head are coming from someone else.
Well, there was a theory in the 70s about the development of consciousness that there's a period of time, and they feel like it was a period of time that existed during written history. They think Homer had a consciousness that worked like this, that where your thoughts seemed like they were coming from outside of you.
Yeah, that's what consciousness was. Right. Now we hear the voice in our head now, and we're like, oh, that's me. But back then they would think, oh, that's Hermes or whatever. Like that's like some god talking to me.
Right.
Like I'm having a thought about.
I don't think that theory is popular now.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, that theory. I love that theory.
Part of that is because of capitalism. Part of that is because we each need to be separated with our own things and our own motivations in order to compete with one another, in order to like consume the most amount of things.
Yeah. It's essential to our current mythology is that we exist, and that's our current, in my opinion, our current equivalent of, you know, of believing the gods were putting thoughts into our heads. Our current equivalent is that we are putting the thoughts in our heads, which is mythology, in my opinion. I don't think that's true.
They arise from nowhere within someone. They just poof, they become. You draw them into existence entirely on your own.
Right, but in fact, there's probably just this unseen field around us that we're drawing from.
I think that we're at a point where dangerously more and more the thoughts are being put into our heads by Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. The elder god.
Just wondering.
Most of your thoughts are Disney thoughts.
Who's
I'm very resistant to Disney thoughts. I just want you guys to know.
That's what you think.
That doesn't mean it's not happening.
Right.
Yeah, it's happening. It's so prevalent in the culture that it's seeping in. It's seeping into places where it shouldn't be going by any rights.
And Disney is like a head floating in a tank of juice.
Oh, it's Walt Disney. Yeah.
No, this is a plant.
Break the glass.
I think that's what he would say if we could find that tank.
Break
Yeah,
glass.
yeah.
Kill me. Undo this.
I'm sick of making superheroes, identical superheroes. Please break the glass.
Break the glass.
Well, and he wasn't into superhero stuff. He wanted to talk about the future of domesticity. He just wanted to talk about what the future refrigerator was going to be like, right? And then you were the one that was telling me that, Ryan.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for Disney the man. He was a very human, flawed individual with an insane belief in the imagination, but not really, I feel like he was possessed. He didn't have a full, beautiful, complete vision. He was just kind of drawn towards things and immensely insecure, which I can relate to.
Well, now he is a character in Marvel movies.
Which one?
Iron Man's dad is modeled after Walt Disney. In Iron Man 2, he looks exactly like Walt Disney and is making a video that it looks like Walt Disney's introduction of Wonderful World of Disney.
Sanic says there's a WOLFE short story where he dunks hard on Disney.
Whoa.
Ooh. Oh, cool. Which one?
I have asked which one, and I feel like we'll find out.
I'm
the
gonna
time
read that.
delay and all that.
Oh, very interesting.
Do we want to talk about Father and Erie's letter? We're getting so close, you guys.
Well, Rudiscent comes in. I'm reading the part.
We've got less than 20 pages left.
Yeah, Rudiscent's a more palindrome. We're going back through everything from the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't get to look at Borges again, huh?
Well, he's probably. Well, they mention him.
Yeah, they do mention him.
They do.
Master Ultan.
I wish he goes back. I wish he went back and talked to him. And who is his assistant?
Sivey.
So, yeah, I want to see those characters again.
Yeah.
He needs to return those books too, right?
Yeah.
Like
No. If you follow him for this long, you got to keep him.
Dude, his late fees are
got some
fucking high.
You can't own up to that responsibility.
Okay, Sanix.
Right, I guess.
Sanix says the short story is called Three Fingers. I can't wait to read it.
3 Fingers.
Cool.
Does he know what collections it can be found in?
Yeah, what book is it in?
The Island of Dr. Death and Other Stories and Other Stories.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, I might have.
Does anyone have that one?
Let me see if I've got it.
I can try to find a digi copy.
Please
Yeah, if we can
do.
find-
I wonder if there is. Three Fingers.
Oh, because cartoons have 3 fingers and a thumb.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
You guys don't?
Okay.
I'm looking at the Rudiscent section right now.
So there's. Oh, okay.
It's cool when Rudiscent talks about how he's like a representative for the dead.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what scholars are all, whether they like it or not, right?
Curators. He's in the Guild of Curators, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This idea of like doing right by the dead.
Love it.
Seems boring.
Well, there's that whole section a while ago where Severian talks about how there's like more dead of every kind of person than living of that kind of person, and how like you have, that like shapes reality is shaped by all of the dead like types of everyone that there are buried in the ground.
Yeah.
And he mentions fetching again.
Yeah.
He's obsessed.
Nerd. Are we supposed to? Wasn't there some speculation on who Fetchin is? That there's he's related some way to another character in the book.
I think it might have been that Rudisand was Fetchin or something.
Chat.
Sanic?
I can't remember.
Anire wouldn't be fetching, would he?
I mean, Anire is every old man in the house.
Well,
Yeah.
Fetchin had red hair on his hands and on his arms, like monkeys' arms, and monkeys represent Anire often.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Fact.
Fact.
Locked up. Eramini style.
Open and shut case.
Yeah. Well, speaking about people and who the fuck are they, the letter from Father Anire has got all kinds of people in it, never heard before, never hear of again. Right?
Yeah. Are you talking about the end?
Yeah, I'm talking about, in the letter.
He's just It's interesting. This letter is like the least interesting, least insightful part of this chapter. I mean, the letter is like very, like, I don't know, kind of just functional. Like, he kind of apologizes for the quality of the ship he was delivered in, and then he just talks about all the supplies they need for continuing the war. And it seems like that's what Severian has ahead for him. It's just like figuring out how to manage the war. This is now his life. Some random informants out there on the field he can consult with in the future. Like, this gives us no insight into the Book of the New Sun, like beyond like the war. Like, nothing here is related to anything else, right?
Yeah, who's
except the reveal for Agia, obviously.
Oh. Man, it's so cool that Agia gets to be Vodalis. That right before this part when I'm reading, I'm like, wait a minute, we got this whole Agia thing. How we have enough room to wrap that up? And then oh, it's so perfect.
Yeah.
His forever nemesis.
Yep.
Well, it's almost like this whole thing, like everyone has to have their little like role in the play. It's like Dr. Talos, you know, you're just like, all right, well, we got all these roles to fill. We're gonna stick you here. We're gonna stick you here.
And that's cyclical time again.
Yeah.
Totally.
And
like, look, somebody's got to do this part. Like, you're here. You're gonna do this part.
Yeah, you can tell when something is destiny being enacted because people start to play their roles.
Yeah.
Is there also element too of like within one's own life, everyone that you know is a microcosm for all of society? Like, you have people that you encounter that play the roles that are necessary for your whole people.
If only in your perception of them.
Yeah. Like, you end up, like, I feel like with astrology, like, I end up thinking and understanding signs very often primarily through the people I've met who have been those signs. They provide the faces.
Mm-hmm. Which is kind of the other side of the telepathy that the thing in the jar was talking about. You're just projecting all this on.
Mm-hmm. But is there something, are you projecting something that is inside of you because it's true in a wider sense?
Right.
That's like the whole philosophy of tarot and I Ching, right?
Yeah. It's just getting you to a part your ego can't access.
The cards in the stick are there. Yeah, but you're interpreting it, but you're by
Well, it's a
interpreting it,
mirror.
you're
It's a mirror
making
of
your reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, a mirror that you interact with.
Did you guys just both say the word reality at the exact same time?
I don't think I said
I don't
reality.
think so.
It must be my connection.
For some reason, I keep thinking of the screens and the, what do they call them? The windows in Long Sun.
Oh yeah, the windows.
Because those are like personified deities. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But they are also just like people.
Right.
The windows.
Yeah,
Well, I'm excited to reread those books. I stalled out so hard like 3/4 of the way through Urth. It keeps happening. It happens every time.
Yeah.
I gotta finish it.
I think having the group will get me, really pumped on it. And I've been reading it. I'm like halfway through, but not glued to the pages or anything.
Oh man, it's my favorite one.
I mean, it's really good. I just keep doing that thing where I just like stick.
I think the first half of it is more fun. At least I don't know. Like the first half of it is kind of swashbuckling and like you get a little more. I don't know. I think it's more readable, and then it gets a little bit
biblical.
I don't know. Gets a little bit biblical. Yeah.
Anything else about Father Inire's letter?
Nah.
You want to talk about the cringy term xanthoderm?
I was just looking at that.
Where is that?
BRB.
Halfway-ish down.
Just tickled me.
Why is it cringy?
Yellow skins?
Is that what xanthoderm means? I guess
Yeah.
Well, why are you thinking that yellow is like a racialist?
I think he's talking about the Kim. What are they called? The Koreans that they got in jail. And there's a short story that's related to this about a war between green and yellow, and the yellow is called Xanth in it, and it's just they're talking about Asians.
Are you talking about Asians, or are they talking about Asians?
Huh?
Are they talking about Asians, or are you talking about Asians?
There's just a lot of circumstantial evidence that he's talking about Asians.
Go on.
I had. That's all I got. It's very circumstantial. And you can say that that's my racism if you want, but I think it's Gene's too.
I'm interested in hearing more.
That's all I got. Oh.
What?
Oh.
Tim disappeared. That should be.
Ryan turned into just a picture of Ryan for a second. I didn't know if I had done something wrong.
Probably did.
I just had a weird thing. Everybody froze for a good long while several minutes ago. My computer is going through phases of working and not working right now.
Yeah, everybody's on the internet at the same time, so I feel like the connections are being strained in a brand new way.
We got to get that 5G.
You guys have seen the videos, right?
You guys, what is the cross thing? The INRI thing?
Yeah.
Isn't that a cross? What does that mean?
Jesu Nazareum Rex Udum.
I was just like flipping to the next page, and where he wrote Inire in like Inire in like all caps, it just like looked like that.
Yeah, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews.
Yeah, it's the plaque supposedly that hung above Jesus on the cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that. I just didn't remember what it meant.
All right, next chapter.
A bag of
Yeah.
gold in the burning.
Is this the penultimate chapter?
Oh, and this is the coin mirror. We get to hear the coin invocation again.
Oh yeah. You should probably read that one since you've been reading all the little poems.
Where I put you, there you lie. Never let a stranger spy. Like grass grow to any eye, not of me. Here be safe, never leave it. Should a hand come, deceive it. Let strange eyes not believe it till I see.
Very good.
Thank you.
What, like grass grow to any eye not of me? What, like grass grow?
Look like the grass underneath you. Get a predator.
Like, okay. Don't grow like grass, grow to be like grass. Okay.
Yeah, grow to be like grass.
It's camouflagey.
And it's like almost that sentence is almost a little camouflagey because I interpreted it the totally wrong way.
There you go. Oh, and then Dr. Talos shows up and gives him his coin back.
Yeah.
Wait,
What's
there's
Dr.
two coins
Talos
now,
up
though.
to?
Huh?
What's Dr. Talos up to now?
I don't think he says. Does he say?
I feel like he'd become
fired.
He's just walking around.
Just revving around
I guess so.
to do his thing.
having adventures.
He's lost his master, so like, is he just like going through his backlog of tasks, being like, I guess I'll do this now?
He's Ronin.
Right.
There could be a cool fanfic just about Talos after Baldanders.
The adventure
Definitely.
of Dr. Talos. Metal Man.
Yeah, I want to know more about Talos. I feel like we didn't get sufficient closure, even with this chapter, on Talos. What is he up to? How did he respond to the death of Baldanders? He seems kind of aloof to it all.
Baldanders is not dead.
All right. Well, I mean the disappearance, the disappearance for now, the resolution of
Emergent.
Baldanders. Is he still hanging out with Baldanders?
No, he got dismissed.
He said
I
he's
got
been
it.
dismissed.
Okay.
But
He's no longer
he doesn't
useful
appear
to
be
him.
in funds. He's making money, or he's got money.
He's doing a one-man show.
Maybe that's the way to do a HBO adaptation of this book, is to just take Talos and don't, keep all this stuff in the background.
That's Dr.
Just have
Talos'
it be-
impression of it.
That would be the Dr. Talos show.
Yeah. I'd watch it.
That'd be pretty cool. Oh,
Oh,
That's all the Twitch streamers. Hogging the bandwidth.
Oh yeah.
oh, but all the Talos part is a flash forward.
Are we on to chapter 38, 37?
We might be.
Oh, he finds that laser gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Oh yeah, that's funny. That's a funny part.
Does the gun come in like when I first read that I thought, oh, this is definitely gonna go off. I can't remember. Does he end up using this gun? I don't feel like he does.
Didn't he try to start a fire with it or something?
He goes off
He
at the
does
end of
start-
the book.
He accidentally starts a fire.
Does he?
He's trying to start a fire. He accidentally destroys the fireplace.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he gives that to Owen.
He gives the gun to Owen?
Yeah, to protect himself and Dorcas while he's like taking care of her.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. That's why it comes in. I have not reviewed these chapters, unfortunately.
Sanic says that in Urth, Ida refers to the Xanthic lands as a group of islands. I feel like what is the name? There's a Clark Ashton Smith group of stories about a land of black wizards. I feel like it has something to do with Xanth. It's like an island at the end of the world where all the necromancers live.
Xanth is also the it's a series.
Piers Anthony.
Yeah, Piers Anthony.
Oh. Oh, Zothique is what I'm thinking of. Never mind. Okay. So, he's going on another adventure with his apprentice friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reunion. This is the J.J. Abrams part of the book.
It's trippy as hell that he's like keeps being like, and it hasn't even been a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like last spring I came in, or this spring.
It's like he's like an old man now, and then all his friends are. He has to keep reminding us these are still the boys from the other chapter that they're in. Okay, so who are these people coming down the river in the mist?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
They're like soldiers that disappear.
Oh, the boat? You're talking like the mystery boat?
Yeah.
Or what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. You think it's related to the Undine? Are they Undine that he talked about later?
Yeah, it's an Undine, right?
Well, there's also that weird part in here about which one of them is Ida like falling in love with the girl on the boat, and Severian being like, "This not gonna go well."
Yeah.
On the end of 403. I don't know if I'm skipping too far ahead. I was just generally kind of confused about this like threat of the boat and exactly who they were that the two people they get a passage with are like relating to Severian.
Where are you looking, Ryan?
Just like so he gets his crew of Goonies together, and then they pay this old balding man and then this young girl that is with him to like punt them out.
Yeah.
And the balding man tells him all the story about this weird, strange happenings with some kind of like foreign boat moving down the river, and he has to get out of the way and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good thing to talk about. Like, does anyone have any idea of what that story is? Like, it's an Undine, right? Like, it's someone's going to consult with an Undine. I think.
They had scorpions and vulges. I could see the heads of them sticking up over the crests of their helmets. Were they starved and I interrupted to ask if the soldiers he had seen were starved looking and if they had large eyes. They was big men, bigger than you or me or anybody in the boat, a head taller than Trayson. Anyway, they were gone in a minute, just like the Galleus. It was the only other craft I saw till the mist lifted. But yeah, then he talks about how he heard the voice of talking in the water. Deep voices call it a man's. I guess that's Baldander's, and the women's voices 3 times. So it's like Baldander's mustering some troops or something?
I don't know.
Connor?
Yes, I think so. I'm not talking a lot because I feel like the more I talk right now, the more my computer messes up. But yeah, that's always been my impression.
He's gathering his armies.
That's Baldander's? On the Guile?
Yeah. I mean, those pelagic forces can travel up rivers, as we see with Juturna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was in a much smaller creek.
Right, but nearly cooler.
But the Guile is much larger.
Right.
But he's also interacting with this Undine, and they're talking to some people, some Earth people.
Well, the boatman talks about hearing the male voice and these female voices talking under the water after having seen the ghostly soldier ship.
Yeah.
So I don't think the punter, the boatman, I don't think he necessarily connects the two things, other than that they're both strange things that happened in the same time. Oh, maybe Sanic knows. The point of the story is to make us wary of mist in other parts of the story. When he leaves the Citadel, the Castellan talks about a mist on the river rolling in, causing people to tell ghost stories.
Erebus means the misty world. Like Erebus is the band of mist that exists between Tartarus and the real world.
Well, there's also all the mist creatures throughout all these books, like the
Questers.
Mist projections.
Yeah.
Well, and Baldander's has that all of those mist creatures in his castle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Sanic's saying that the soldiers are Abaya's land troops, and that when he leaves the Citadel and the Castellan talks about a mist is the same night he has a dream about Undines. So mist is the movement of Abaya's machinations.
I'm just wondering how that's relevant to the narrative besides just flavor,
Is it kind of like Severian as the Autarch has got to he's not leaving behind Baldanders and Abaya now? It's more real thing he has to deal with.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's just suggestive that Baldanders is still about.
Yeah, it's how Aja is the new Vodalist, Baldanders is going to be the new Abaya.
Oh.
It's more cyclic time.
One turn of the screw up, huh?
Yeah.
Damn.
Only Abaya was on Severian's side, though. Now Baldanders, I guess, ostensibly will be against him.
Well, it's the same relationship that everybody had before, where the Autarch is working for Vodalist, but he's also the leader. It's the same complex mess of spiery that we had before.
Yeah. Everybody needs each other to maintain the system that they're in.
Yeah.
You don't have your role without your adversary, and so sometimes you help your adversary so that you don't lose your role.
Yeah, or it's important to craft an adversary too, to be involved in the creation of an adversary. It gives you more.
Well, he also talks about that part where he also talks about how Erebus and Abaya could crush everyone if they wanted to, but their only means of actual defeat is assimilation, not annihilation or whatever. It's it's pieces on a playing board, and they're being moved around. But the point is not to destroy the pieces.
Yeah.
Right. That's in the game.
Yeah.
So next he goes to Owen.
Yep. Owen relates his history, story.
Yeah. another Cass.
Cass.
Or Cuss. Dork Cass. Dork.
It's better than dork.
Yeah.
I am Dorcas.
Dork.
I think the first time I ever saw the name Dorcas was when I read Stranger in a Strange Land, the Heinlein book. There's one of the characters in that is named Dorcas. And I had never heard that as a name before, and I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
It is hilarious. It's very funny.
When I was a child, my mother's car was named Dorcas.
Yeah. She named it that? Or you did?
Yeah, she did.
Nice.
She did.
My parents never named their vehicles. At least not in... I never heard it.
Well, both of my parents did. My father named his car Puddle Jumper.
My mom had a white, what is it called? The Toyota Van, the one that's shaped like an egg. The Previa. That she called Vanna White.
It's cute.
That corniness is like genetically inherited, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I tried to bring up this quote last time, and I don't know if I found it. It's on the bottom of 403 when he's talking about Ida falling in love, and he says, Ida would become a torturer as all men are, bound by the contempt for wealth without which a man is less than a man.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me think of like Bezos and Trump and Musk and stuff. You know, like they're so clearly less than a human, and it's because, according to WOLFE, they lack a contempt for wealth.
And they're also objects of contempt for us.
Yeah, they are well.
They are well. Symbol.
Man, Bezos is just like getting more evil and evil. You heard about how he's in on that meeting where they decided to smear the dude that worked for them that backfired like...
Oh, yeah.
It's not, they're just like, he's dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should just make this about him and how he's dumb.
It took less than 24 hours after they like put out their narrative for people to have all this evidence that it was total crap.
I mean, you don't even need that to know that it's crap.
Yeah. They need it to know that they've been caught.
I mean, it's like people, the workers are on strike and they're like, all we want is like PPEs. Like, we just want to not die at work or whatever. And they're like, well, look at this guy who's like trying to be the leader. He went to work and he was exposed to a sick person. And you're just like, what? What? Like, this narrative makes no sense.
Like Bezos gave like $100 million to some kind of relief fund, and which is like just such a minuscule amount of money for him.
Yeah, he's making like, I forget the exact stat. The amount of millions he makes per day is fucking mind-boggling.
Yeah,
he makes it's something like every 16 seconds or something. He makes the average annual pay of an Amazon employee. It's something like 16 seconds.
Jesus.
Man, and grad students of the future are going to have a blast talking about Amazon's role in continuing the plague.
Yeah.
It's such. You know, it is nice though, because now at least some people are talking about boycotting the shit, which like I haven't bought anything from any Amazon or any Amazon affiliate in at least like 10 years, but I'm glad at least now some people are like, well, I guess we shouldn't be actually just because you just stop giving them your fucking money. Anyway.
Agreed. Hopefully it has an impact on their business. We'll see.
Yeah.
There's always like some like kind of like backlash against these big companies. Like I remember like Walmart had like a big backlash like 10 years ago where everyone was like, "Oh, don't go to Walmart. They mistreat their employees," but they're still around.
When was the
They
last
got
time you went to a Walmart?
I went to one a couple of months ago.
Oh, I haven't been to one in years and years. When I was a kid, we went there all the time, but I don't know. I guess the part of that's just living in Baltimore. I guess.
Yeah.
I don't go to Walmart. And then there was a point where I was like, oh, right, if I don't go to Walmart, I probably also shouldn't ever use Amazon. And that was probably like 10 years ago.
Right.
It's like the same shit.
Internet Walmart.
Amazon's got such a cushion. It's like he could weather probably like a 5-year backlash and pop right back up again once it sort of like left the consciousness.
Yeah, or just rebrand themselves slightly.
Honestly, it's too convenient a service that like it doesn't matter. Like it won't. No amount of backlash will really eat into the business just because it's such a like they have everything and it's easy.
And they can.
It's
they
so
can
annoying to me how big of a factor convenience is in modern decision making. Like years ago when I closed my like SunTrust, corporate bank account, and I got a credit union account. When I went to close my SunTrust account, the guy, I was like, yeah, I've decided I don't want to have any corporate banking anymore or whatever. I just want to have a credit union. And the guy was like, I love credit unions. I have a credit union account too, but like it can be really nice to have both because sometimes it's helpful to have like a big bank. And I was like, well, my needs aren't like that complex. Like I don't really need any complicated banking shit. I just kind of like put money in and take money out or whatever. And he was like, well, sometimes it's not as much about complexity as like convenience. And I said, well, convenience is not like one of my factors that I make life decisions based on. And it like blew his mind when I said that. He was just like he just couldn't handle it. I was just like, yeah, convenience is not an important factor to me in making my life decisions. And he just like couldn't take it. He couldn't take it. And then I was like, give me my money. I'll see you later. I just thought it was funny.
Like I guess for people that work for a large bank, principles are just kind of like a hazy thing that is all of, like you don't think about your principles or put effort into enacting them. They're just something every once in a while you say the name of to feel good.
Right there.
Oh, yeah. If that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, resurrection. Almost nothing remains to be told.
I think, is this the last chapter?
Yeah, we got like 2
it's the last.
You ever
How
just
did we? 4 books we did.
in 2 years.
No, not 2.
Yeah, which episode is this? Like 22?
22.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's nearly 2 years, I guess. I mean,
We started, I believe, in October.
Right, and I guess we
a year and a half.
Posted. Yeah, it's been like a year and a half, and at some points we met more often.
Yeah.
Isn't 22
like
the
right
number
now?
of...
This quarantine style, we're gonna blast through some shit.
Yeah.
Because nobody can be like, nobody's got conflicts.
Yeah, by the time we're out of quarantine in September, we'll be like well into fucking Short Sun.
I bet we'll at least get through Urth. I don't know how long it'll take us to get through Urth. I feel like
Well, Urth is the size of 2 books, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's hefty.
Like it's the same size as this. I guess it has bigger font.
No, Urth of the New Sun. No, Urth of the New Sun is the size of one of these books.
Yeah,
but
they
one
just.
of those books is 2 books.
Yeah.
But
No,
the typeset Urth, like here, look, I've got it here.
Half one of these.
Look at how big the type is in this
Yeah.
book. Like, it's huge, and
It's also really close.
what?
That type's also really close.
Oh, yeah,
To the
look how
camera.
big it is.
Here, I'll pull up a representative page of both, and then you can.
It's fine. We know about it.
No, just the viewers have to see it. Look at that difference.
Different, way different.
It throws me off. I don't like it. I don't like this.
hate it.
Oh,
I like this.
I, for one, love big type. Big type rules. I read all of Dark Materials in large print. You get off the large print section of the library. It changed my experience of reading. Read large print. It's better for your body.
It is better for you. Yeah, but it's It's so much less pleasing though. I so prefer the layout of these books to
Honestly,
Urth.
I think I'm more put off by Urth because I've been reading this. Like, if they had all been typeset like this, like Urth, then I probably wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, it is like it's kind of big for. It was a weird choice.
It was a good choice.
All right.
Okay.
Let's. We got one chapter and the appendix left. Let's
To be continued on that topic.
Almost nothing remains to be told.
Really quick, let me just point out 22 episodes. We're on 22 episodes to do all 4 books. 22 cards in the major arcana, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
There you go.
That means something.
I'm sure it means something.
It does. It means something if we finish today.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's 23.
We finished
Right.
it.
Let's do the last chapter.
Yeah.
All right.
Got to change into robes of argent, the color that is more pure than white.
Yep.
It's cool.
Silvery, usually, kind of, right? Argent.
Yeah. Yeah, right? I think argent just means silver.
It does.
Isn't the book taking place in Argentina too?
It is.
Ooh. I like that. I never deconstructed that name before.
I just
Oh,
thought
you guys,
of it.
look. Can you see him? Oh. He came down for the end.
Oh, there he is.
Can you see this guy?
Oh, yeah, your guy. We see your guy.
Melvin.
They just have this dog over here.
All right. Oh.
Off topic.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we're almost there.
He decides to write the Book of the New Sun.
Yeah, and there's that paragraph there which is great, where he kind of like gives this like winking, like he's like, "Have I told you all I promised? I'm aware that at various places in my narrative I have pledged that this or that should be made clear in the knitting up of the story. I remember them all, I am sure, but then I remember so much else. Before you assume that I have cheated you, read again, as I will write again."
Yeah, it's the classic thing where he has a perfect memory, but that doesn't like mean he ever has perfect recall, so it doesn't fucking matter. Like,
yeah,
all the answers.
I'm sure that I remember all of it. It's all in there somewhere.
Well, but this is also a fun little trick where he's saying like, before you assume that I have cheated you, read again, as I will write again. He's like saying,
Yeah. It's just
there's
a big
so much
circle.
in this book. If you don't think that I answered, read it over and over again, and I'm sure you can figure it out. I'm going to go and write the Urth of the New Sun, which kind of just covers all of this over again, but in a new way.
Oh, I thought
it's interesting though. Yeah, well, it just gives this idea that Severian is aware of the writerly tricks that he's playing, like, which is just so interesting because throughout the whole book, and in fact, so much of like popular reading of this book, if you can call it popular reading, is about how he's an unreliable narrative or an insufficient narrator.
Right.
You know? But this seems to imply that he's in full command of his narrative, you know, intentionality.
Yeah, but just because he's in full command of it doesn't mean he's fully reliable. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
I would like to argue that it's his unreliability that makes him so reliable, because it's through being blatantly unreliable sometimes that you're able to get a more true sense of the nature of his unreliability.
Well, and also, yeah, just like how fiction is the only true nonfiction.
Right.
Like you have to construct it for yourself, and that's how you get to true nonfiction.
Yeah.
You
and
can
then also
cold water but not make it drink.
Yeah. Right after that, he says, "I'm not the first Severian."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he tries to guess at the story of the first one.
Yeah.
Which I guess wouldn't even be the first one. Right? Because he would have... The first one died in the Guile at the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
But he's talking about...
Oh, and then he goes looking for the Atrium of Time. But he can't find it.
Wait, Jordan, what were you saying?
I think he's not, when he says like the first Severian, he's talking about someone before the Severian well, he thinks he's talking about someone before the Severian who died in the Keel. In the beginning. Right? He thinks the Severian went through the whole thing slightly differently, and then the people in the corridors of time went back in time and made contact with young Severian, making him the second Severian. Right? That's what he said, I think. But actually something else happened, which is Urth, right?
He said that he was not returned to his own time, but became himself a walker of the corridors. I know now the identity of the man called the Head of Day, and why Hildegren, who was too near, perished when we met, and why the witches fled. Who's the Head of Day? I don't remember that.
Apu Punchao?
Oh, okay.
Wait, so Hildegren, can we cover that? Hildegren's the Badger, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And he perished when we met. When is that?
Hildegren disappears during the episode in the Stone City with Apu Punchao, the Vitamancer. The dead person who summons the life. The living.
Yeah.
Right.
So why? I don't understand. He disappeared and perished.
My kind of like understanding is that it is like the whole scene kind of like explodes because Severian and Apu Punchao are like two different timeline versions of each other, and they get too close to each other, and the whole thing just like.
And Apu Punchao exists. Apu Punchao exists both in Severian's past and present. And future, rather.
And future, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, Hildegren's annihilated because of that time paradox, I think.
Yeah, because it's like a paradox. It can't happen. So like it gets, yeah. So then the whole thing just like explodes. That's my understanding of what happens there. Wow. It's like two timelines get too close to each other, and they just like can't, like the probability reality of it like doesn't work, and then everything explodes.
Timing, like it makes speed races.
How does Severian know that's his own tomb? Or is it his own tomb? Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's like this.
Yeah.
The spaceship, the fountain, the little building of stone with its rose. I guess is the rose. Is that the Citadel, the building of stone with its rose?
No, the building of stone is the mausoleum.
Right.
I knew too, and whose mausoleum I tarried. The little building of stone with its rose, the rose, the fountain, and the ship. And he's saying like, those are all symbols for Severian.
Okay.
The rose because it has a thorn?
Yeah, that's
Every rose has its thorn on it.
Oh no.
Every night has its morn. A theme of this book.
That's right. Who knew Gene was such a Poison fan?
And every cowboy, Jonas, sings a sad, sad song.
Jonas really is sad.
Yeah.
Nice.
Much like anime and video games, that song is inspired by this book.
It could have been.
It could have been.
A really deep reading of this book.
It would be very Wolfian for us to find out, like that. Is Bret Michaels the singer of that song? It's like, yeah, I love the Urth of the New Sun. Why not? It was around. I was around. Of course, I read it.
Maybe they're much empowered.
That's the explanation he would give.
For what?
Sorry, what?
Of course, I like that book. It was around. I was around.
That's how it works.
Yeah, it's not insane that he would. It's not impossible that he would have read it.
I don't know. I mean, if Bolthrower can write songs about Elric, then I don't see why Poison can't write a song about Severian.
And in the true spirit of Gene Wolfe, they'd be very subtextual. It wouldn't be like, when Led Zeppelin writes a song about Lord of the Rings.
This is goofy.
Okay, you guys, we gotta wrap this shit up. We're coming up on the 3-hour mark here, and we got like 2 pages left. And he goes to the Atrium of Time.
Yeah.
This part's
which
crazy.
He can't find, which is both not on the map and he can't find from above because it exists outside.
Right.
Of time.
Go down some tunnels.
It's like Megarothea.
Ooh, they're like it's like another corridor of time.
Yeah.
That he has to go through.
I like how when he's looking for Valeria, he tells the old woman, and then she activates some kind of PA or like,
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's a ship. I mean, it's a ship.
Yeah.
The
like
Paging Valeria. Please report to the Atrium Time.
It's like he's a kid in Walmart who's lost his mom.
Yeah. And then it ends abruptly.
So, we agree that the towers and the Citadel are all ships, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And including, whatever building Valeria lives in.
Well, I think you're right that it's kind of.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess I have a
Atrium
question. I have a question that never really occurred to me, which might be kind of far off, but it's just kind of like a whim here. But how the library or the Citadel is connected to the House Absolute.
Right.
Yeah.
In this kind of space-time way.
Yeah.
Is it possible that the Atrium of Time, or Valeria's ship, is in some kind of way attached to Sadkiel's ship?
I would think so. I mean, Severian enters a kind of I think it's all. I think the Atrium of Time is the control room. And I think we see different variations of its travel through time in the corridors of time, Zadkiel's ship, the Brook Magigot, which is accessible from Zadkiel's ship, right? They all kind of are different realizations of this, of what the Atrium of Time does. Maybe.
Could be.
Is it? I mean, and I always pictured it as some kind of like Mesar tunneling kind of thing. That those are the holes it leaves as it moves through time, burrowing.
So like the corridors are the holes that it leaves?
Right. Like if the Atrium of Time is a worm, the Corridor of Time and the Brook Madrigal are like the burrows it leaves. Or if the Atrium of Time is a ship, they are its extemporal wake.
Yeah. Cool.
Does anyone remember the first time they read this book? Were they surprised that he goes back to Valeria at the end?
I was.
Yeah,
me too.
I was also surprised that he became Autarch, even though he kept saying it over and over again throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't gonna happen.
I just had forgotten. I read this over the course of several years too. So like by the end of it, I was like, oh yeah, he has been saying that.
Sanic says that it's a popular idea that Jonas and Hathor were both on Zadkiel's ship and that it crashed at some point in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's clear that they've both been on Zadkiel's ship, but I didn't think about the fact that and they've both been in a crash, but I didn't think about the fact that if you consider that there's supposed to be only one ship, then that's the ship that would have crashed.
It would be an explanation of Hathor's behavior towards Severian, because he has this weird reverence for Severian from right off the bat, and it's because he knows.
Well,
the entire world.
Well, don't we have a theory that we see him on the ship in a younger form?
He shows up in Urth.
Yeah, he shows up in a younger form in Urth on the ship.
I even, for some reason, feel like he comes from Severian's future.
Right.
And then ends up in Severian's past, similar to the Hierodils.
Yeah.
Right. Isn't that, I mean, that's the idea with the ship, is that there are people from all different time periods kind of end up coming on. And then so that if the ship crashed, it could have people on it from the future.
Right. But yeah, so then it abruptly ends.
Yeah, and then the
pen shall hold dear reader, but I shall not.
Until next Sunday.
It is weird that he goes back to Valeria. That's sorry, what we were trying to talk about for a minute is that he goes back to Valeria. And what's like? Does anybody have a feeling about why he did that?
I guess he doesn't know any other girls in the Citadel.
Has more power than is like really specifically expressed. I mean, I feel like she when they first meet, she probably kind of like, I would imagine that when they first meet, because they don't really talk at all about what happens when they hang out the first time.
I think that he likes to keep Valeria from us. I think that he really, my optimistic view is that he truly loves her and therefore wants to keep her private. She's for him, not for us. So we have rushes against her. We don't ever really get to hear about what Valeria is like.
There's a part at the very beginning of Urth that I was just reading where he, like, first time he refers to her, he calls her poor Valeria. And I was like, something happens in between these books that makes her poor Valeria, and I'm going to wait till next Sunday.
That's Severian's departure from Urth. He abandons Valeria.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, she also is this like solitary kind of character. I mean, she unlike other characters who are popping in and out of timelines, she kind of like continuously exists in this place
She grew up outside of time.
Right. She like exists in that place. She's not like really interacting.
Well, and the concept of poor Valeria is really egotistical of Severian, which you see when he's like, oh, poor Valeria, who I left, she must feel so bad, when actually what she did was take over the world.
Yeah. I mean, I just have the feeling that she actually, her hand is much more has much more of an effect in the entire workings of the whole scenario than is given credit for. Like, she's kind of like an agent somehow in the whole thing.
Is there a clue in her name? I mean, all I can think of is that supplement you take to go to sleep.
Valerian root, yeah.
I think of that Weezer cover, My Valoria.
Valoria.
But I always sing Valeria's name.
We've mentioned so many bands in this episode. I feel like someone could do a whole wolf pack about music in this episode.
And it's all been so bad though that I hope that they don't.
I was thinking that the going back a little bit, the Mandragora, like its telekinetic communication to Severian. As I was reading over that, I was like, man, this should just be a black metal song. Like, these lyrics just read like they're the things that the Mandragora is saying just read like black metal lyrics.
Yeah, and it's floating in blood.
Yeah, it's floating in blood, and it's like transmitting this thing. There's I don't know. There's this black metal band called the Botanist just Botanist. That's like all this like crazy like primitivist earth magic kind of thing, and there are no guitars. It's all hammered dulcimer.
Whoa!
Doesn't the dude play hammered dulcimer and drums at the same time?
What?
No, but he's a percussionist, so that's kind of where it comes from. So.
Oh, for some reason, I had this like image in my head when I heard of them, of a dude with like hammered dulcimer in front and then drums on the side. Like,
there's this whole I mean, like all of the records are concept albums, and like on the cover of one of them, there's like a mandrake root like talking into someone's ear or something like that. So.
Cool band.
That's what this thing is, the mandrake root, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which is an image that's not unique to wolf. Like these, because mandrakes look like little people for a long time. They're thought to be like they could be created into like golems or like effigies.
Spirits and stuff.
Homunculi.
Yeah, homunculi. Yeah.
Valeria was a friend of Jesus. Like, she was a contemporary of Jesus and one of the earliest martyrs. That seems significant.
Seems significant. Yeah, Valeria is a mysterious character. I don't get too much detail from her from this book. It'd be interesting to go back and scan the first chapter where he talks with her, but.
I mean, Severian is the part of the Autarch that goes off outside of the Empire and saves the world, in that vague way. And then Valeria is the Autarch who stays behind and actually does the governing and does a good job of it.
Right.
Valeria is the Shekinah to Severian's Tetragrammaton. Or the Sophia to Severian's Logos, the animating spirit.
I'm just going to show off this cat.
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting you say animated spirit, and that anima is the woman inside the man in Jung.
I mean, yes, I think that there's a linguistic thing going on. I think
Anima is soul.
I'm stoned enough. I
Greek.
can't talk. Right.
And also, Tool has an album called
Oh
Anima,
no.
which has a song about Jung on it.
Okay,
It's gonna be a really weird.
Does anybody want to say anything else about this book?
Wait, appendix? Hello.
We're going to talk about what he calls weapons.
This appendix is so annoying. They just talk about weapons.
Well, then at the very end, there's
Well,
some.
and then the ships of the hieroglyphs.
Yeah, you get a little more info,
All right.
and you get like a little bit of a preview of Urth in the very last bit.
Is he implying that Severian sees forward in time?
It's some presentiment.
Yeah. Some presentiment. There's some big implications in this appendix here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first of which is the translator notes that he has difficulty differentiating between seafaring craft and spacecraft, which we see a couple explicit examples of in the book, but I wonder if there's more.
Well, wait till you start reading Urth.
Sorry?
Wait till you start reading Urth, right?
Yeah.
But this came out before Urth, so he's talking about something that happened here, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
also, I feel like in Urth, I guess towards the end of Urth, there's more sea stuff. At the beginning of Urth,
there's a bunch of sea
it's all
stuff.
clearly space.
Yeah, that's clearly space.
But it's written like sea stuff.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know that I'm getting everything that everybody's saying right now.
I think you are.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, I think I'm not receiving all that's being transmitted.
I think you are.
Okay.
Yeah. Seems all right.
Reconstruct it like a fractal.
I'm not hearing all of the sentences that the people are saying. I'm saying.
Okay.
Oh
You
wow,
think you're
Valeria.
missing bits.
Another Sanic fact: Valeria is the name of the wife of the emperor who ordered Catherine's death.
Hmm.
And Catherine's Severian's mom, wife of an emperor who orders the death of Severian's mom. Crazy.
So crazy.
The snake eating its own tail.
That fucking snake again.
It was a good book, you guys.
It was. It was totally worth having.
It was a good book.
Book club. About.
Great book. It's the best. So good.
I'm excited to read Urth with other people because I had the first time I read Urth, I had some issues with it. Being confused.
I read a bunch of it like 2 months ago and kind of fell off. I got to go back into it now.
I fell off too. I gotta go back in.
Yes.
So are we gonna talk
There's a book that I pick up every once in a while to read the middle of. Like I'll just read any point from Urth.
Should
That's
we
probably a good idea.
decide how much of Urth we should read for the next?
No, I think we should just
read it?
I mean, I don't know.
Go.
I mean, how many chapters are there? Let's.
I think we should just go in and see how far we can get. I think it's been a long time since we've been able to like actually get through whatever number of chapters we decide to get through.
Yeah.
I think if everyone like looks at the first 8 or whatever.
6 is probably realistic-ish.
I think the chapters are longer,
Yeah.
right?
They're also more confusing.
There
So
are
we'll talk about that.
way more chapters.
Hmm.
What is L
Because
in?
it's longer. It's a longer book than the other books. It's longer than the other books, regardless of font size and blah blah.
And it's more complex.
It's longer and more complex.
All right.
Anyway, whatever. If everyone just reads the first like sizable chunk, and then we'll see how far we can get.
Can we pick a time period though? Because I also will be video chatting with my family at some point that day.
You mean a time for the meeting?
Yeah.
An era that we should meet in.
Just doing it at 6
during the day.
Well, let me talk to my weird mother, and she'll tell me what works for the family, and then I'll coordinate with you.
Are we still streaming this?
We are.
That's good. So now, let's hope that Connor's mom doesn't watch to the very end of this video.
Wait, what's happening?
You just called your mom weird on a live stream.
Oh, yeah. Wait, but did she watch? Yeah, all right.
You think she's not watching, Connor?
I think that there's no chance that my mom is watching this.
I think this is our highest rated show. We've had 5 concurrent viewers for most of the time.
Yeah.
Very good. People are fucking bored at their houses right now, man. They'll take anything they can fucking get.
Just being able to hear someone else talking, I think, is the...
It's our most coherent and focused episode ever, too, I think.
Really?
I doubt that.
Oh, really?
It might be. I feel like it might be, even though it had its...
I don't think we got... But you know what? But I think we've had other ones where we might have wandered more, but we had more meat.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Including the last one.
Ultimately, we did skim over a lot of this last.
But anyway, I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm still happy with what we've done. We also did get through the tetralogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is no small matter.
No easy journey.
Well, so we're gonna meet next Sunday, and it will be determined by Connor's mom.
Exactly.
All right.
And he will let us all know what time.
I will let you know Sita's decree.
Great.
Mamacita?
Mamacita.
My mother's nickname in our family is Sita because the oldest person in my generation couldn't say Cynthia.
Mm-hmm.
And I am Kakumaku.
That is a very good name for you.
Kakumaku.
Yeah, the oldest person in my generation couldn't say Connor Michael.
Kakumaku.
Kakumaku. Son
such
of
a good
Mamacita.
Yeah.
El hijo de Mamacita.
That's right.
All right.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Well,
We'll see you guys next weekend.
shout out to Politeness and Politics and Stanek the Shazbot.
Yeah, good job,
Yeah.
audience.
And everybody else who watched but did not necessarily remark.
And man,
Like and subscribe.
shout out to everybody who just reads Gene Wolfe, even if you don't watch this show.
They'll never
Yes.
know.
And if you're currently
Shout
not
out.
watching,
The
that's
silent
all right.
shout out.
Shout out.
All right.
All right.
Should we
Bye,
end
guys.
it?
Yeah.
Everybody
Bye.
behave.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Man, the delay is so long.